some, oh, sorry, we're just recording. So we do have some festivals associated with the network that aren't in the south, but the core kind of, you know, full members are all based in the north. And Light Up the North is set up to support and develop individual light festivals through co-learning, co-commissioning, co-programming, peer support, review of best practice. A big part of what we do is just I guess being there for one another as supportive eyes and ears, sharing problems, sharing solutions, most importantly, and keeping track of kind of developments within the light art world and within live events generally. The Shine programme has been running for about 10 years, and the Shine programme is a kind of flagship programme within Light Up the North, where we are able to offer bursaries this year of up to £15,000 to artists or artist collectives who come under the emerging category and have an idea to develop a light artwork. So two kind of important things for you guys in terms of applications there is the emerging artist category, and also just having a proposal for a light artwork ready for the application. So just to sidetrack very slightly, if you don't feel like you have a light artwork ready to propose, but you are interested in finding more about working in light art, then we have a separate program called Spark, which is very much like an artist development program specifically for artists who want to work in light. And there's no requirement within that program to have an artwork ready to go. So that's Spark. But if you do have an artwork ready to go and you're an emerging artist that wants to work in light, then Shine is the one for you. So Shine, the kind of Shine process is we do an open call for applications. We publish that across various different websites and networks. We share it out as widely as we can. We get the applications in, we shortlist the applications, we do interviews, and obviously I'm condensing this quite a bit to kind of speed through the process for you. But we'll shortlist them as a group, and then we will commission two artworks out of the application process to move forward with, and those artworks will then be presented at all of the partner festivals within the Shine Light Up the North group. So it's not all of the festivals within the Light Up the North network, because there's quite a few of them now, and you probably physically wouldn't be able to get around them all. So there's, how many have we got? This is where I need to look at the detail.
We've got 6, but you'll probably be exhibiting at 4.
For each of the 6 festivals that are involved in the Shine programme. So what that kind of looks like for the successful Shine applicants is you'll do the interview with us, we'll notify you if you've been successful, and then what we tend to do is we get together in person with all of the partner festivals, so all of the partner festivals plus the 2 commissioned artist leads, and we'll get together as a group and we'll just spend the day together talking through each of the individual festivals and each of the artworks as well. And we'll just spend a day kind of getting to know each other, finding more out about the artwork, and then the artists can also find out more about the individual festivals that they will be showing their artwork at. And then we kind of leave you to a degree, don't worry, we won't leave you completely, but then we leave you to develop the artwork, but we are always here. So you will go away and you will develop your artwork, you'll design and fabricate and, you know, do all that lovely creative stuff that you do really well. And meanwhile, we will be here as kind of project managers to help you through all of the steps that is required to get your artwork into the festivals. So we won't be involved in the kind of like making or imagining or designing of the artworks. That will all be down to you as artists. But what we will do to offer our support as part of the Shine program is that we'll help you with things like logistics, planning, technical support, things like health and safety assessments. We will look at your budgets and make sure we don't see anything glaringly obvious. But in addition to that, we're here for you as supporters and as a group that really wants to see your artworks be presented really successfully at the Light Up the North festival. So there'll be along the way very definite milestones and touch points for the artists and for the Shine festivals, but equally there will be lots of ad hoc conversations that we have to help you get through any of the sticky bits in the process, whether that's, you know, a technical issue that you have with the piece, or whether it's figuring out, you know, how you're going to transport your artwork from one festival to another. So we're kind of there all the way along, and typically there's more than one Shine festival at each festival as well. So we'll very often come along and see the Shine artworks presented at all of the festivals. That's something that we like to do. So as I said, the Shine program has been running for about 10 years. So we've had, you know, upwards of 15 or 20 artists go through the Shine program, and a number of those artists have come back to the festivals that they've worked with originally as kind of fully fledged artists. So we've had lots of success stories where we've had an artist one year who will present their work as part of the Shine program, but then a year or two later they'll come back having developed their skills and their portfolio and their program and their creativity within light artwork, and they'll come back to us with a different artwork and a new idea, and we'll present them as part of the program. But what I would say kind of within that is that we do not have a separation in our mind between the Shine artists and the kind of non-Shine artist works within the program. So on the Shine program, we will work with you as we would work with any artist, any of our more established artists. So we might have artists that, you know, present it at you know, multiple festivals a year and have done for the last 10 years, but we consider you and the Shine artworks as kind of level, you know, as level pegging in the program. You will be kind of, you will have the same billing, you'll have the same infrastructure support, you'll have the same kind of, you know, signage and all that sort of stuff. So we will treat you as we would any other artist that we're working with, but obviously you've got the additional support from us as part of the Shine program, and obviously the commissioning fee as well. So we all really love the Shine project. We all love the Shine program. We're all very passionate about the Shine program, and the festivals that have worked with work with the Shine program very often do so year on year on year because of the quality of work that comes out of the Shine program, and also the kind of satisfaction that we get of developing relationships with new artists as well. So what we tend to find is that our relationships with our Shine artists will extend kind of into years beyond that first port of call as a Shine commission. And what we also find is that our Shine artists will develop quite a large network as part of the Shine program. So with the festivals, with their kind of fellow Shine artists, but also with artists that they come across when they're showing their work at the festivals. So we find that in terms of, like, you know, network building and profile within the light art community, Shine really pays dividends, and Shine artists will come away from the Shine commission feeling like they are now part of the light art community. So that's the kind of introduction to Shine. Does anyone have any questions on Shine or Light Up the North before we hand over to Axolotl? No? We can come back to questions at the end as well.
Okay. Axolotl, are you able to share your screen, or do I need to make you a host?
I'm not sure. I think Chris is going to. Let's see if he can.
If it works.
Oh.
Yeah, perfect.
Huh?
Great. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So we're Axolotl. We made a piece last year called Polyrhythms for the Shine programme. And this is a bit about what that process looked like from our side, and how we found it. So if you'd like to carry on, Richard.
I can, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Richard. That's me there, Richard. Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm the creative lead for us. So we formed as a collective early last year, and I'm taking the creative lead on it. And then there's George. Do you want to? Yeah, I'll just introduce us all. George is our fabrication, and Chris Ball does our technology. To really sum it up, there's the three of us, and we formed at the beginning of last year. And the first thing we did, not the first thing we did, like the first second, but the first thing we applied for was the Shine Award. And yeah, so would that be the next slide, I guess? Yeah, so we at the beginning of last year, we sort of all got together and we work freelance, making various things for other companies, for other arts companies. And a couple of the projects we were supposed to work on, the companies we were working for changed their timelines, which for a freelancers left us with big gaps. And it was not the first time that it happened. And we decided that actually what we really want to do was make our own work and develop our own ideas rather than constantly relying on other people's timelines and ideas. So we went to the pub where all good ideas are formed, and we decided to sort of form a collective, and we decided to call ourselves Axolotl, which is a small amphibian. There's a good reason for it, but I won't bore you with it now. But we're still pleased with it because we think it's spelt nicely. But anyway, yes, so we got together and we decided that we'd never really engaged with the world of light art or the sort of light art community, except as sort of a punter going to like light waves at Salford Keys and that sort of thing. And we really intrigued, but we didn't know anyone who did it or much about it. But it felt like it's something that we could develop and do together. George had built sculptural forms, and we'd use light, and we've done sort of the different elements, but we never brought it together to create a piece of light art. So we decided that that's what we as a three wanted to do, we were going to do. And so we started coming up with ideas and brainstorming. We came upon the idea for the piece we ended up making. Around the same time, we saw a Instagram call out for the Shine program run by Light Up the North, which you've just heard all about and is amazing, and we fully recommend. So we weren't sure if obviously we had an idea and it worked in light, and we weren't sure if we technically were classed as emerging artists, because we definitely engaged in the arts world before, but we'd never engaged in the light art world. So we saw ourselves as sort of an emerging collective into light art. You know, we didn't know anything about the community. So we decided to apply anyway and see what happened. And through conversations, it was agreed, you know, like, so we wrote a application. And so the concept we had was based around, Chris was telling us about polyrhythms, which is this sort of musical theory where you can play like a 3-beat and a 4-beat at the same time, and is often explained using polygons and shapes, and then out of that came this idea that we could visualize it to make it a big thing that you could sort of see and physically experience, and it would explain the sort of maths behind polyrhythms in a sort of fun, engaging way. So we wrote we use Canva. We recommend it to anyone who hasn't got it. It's really good. And we made this document, and we submitted it, and we applied, and then we had our interviews, which were all really, everyone's really friendly. It's all really nice. It's very supported. And then we were lucky enough to be one of the 2 chosen commissions, which was great. And we went along to the induction day that they touched on. Yeah, and we sort of started the process there. And there was things that we sort of already knew how we would approach, like the welding and the actual physical making. But there was we received lots of support about budgeting and production management and planning and the health and safety and insurance of all this, because we reckoned we could make the thing, but like actually how to get to a light festival and how to sort of do it, if that makes sense. And we were very supported, and we felt very guided through the bits that we needed to. And as they said, there's lots of touch points along the way where it's like, have you done your health and safety documentation? Do you need help on it? If so, here's a Zoom with this person. They'll talk you through how it's done, that sort of thing. Yeah, so we in terms of the process from that point of view, it was very useful to us and we really enjoyed it. But yeah, so we got the commission and then we got back together and said, okay, right, we're doing this now. And then we sort of started trying to budget it and plan it and order things. And once we had a plan, we then sort of went forward onto making it, which I guess George should talk to you about because he made it. Thanks.
Hi. Yeah, that was obviously the next thing. So it was we knew what we wanted to sort of build. So it was on to sort of designing it. Which was obviously quite complicated because it's a set of very strange shapes. But it was good to be able to sort of again send it back and forth, because you know there was help from the team about like what sort of windage, like how much stability it needed at various points, and you know we'd have to find out whether it was going to be secure. Like overnight with security or whether it was going to be on its own. So we went through a whole host of different sort of designs and we got lots of feedback, which was very useful. Yeah, so it was like spent quite a long time sort of going through exactly what it was that we wanted, in terms of actually physically making it and trying to find somewhere to set it up. But yeah, the physical build went pretty well, really. It was more about the sort of, because well then we sort of moved on to like the electronics, which I know a lot less about, but yeah, whether or not it was on mains or battery and things like that, which sort of depending on where you are and what sort of light festival is, obviously there was lots of help. But yeah, I think Chris could probably tell you more about the electronics.
Yeah, so we had decided on a structure, we decided on the shapes that we wanted, the number of beats in each bar we wanted to use. But once we'd done that, we had like questions about what would be useful, like for the light festivals, like what do they need to know in terms of power? We did actually ask at one point if it would be useful for it to run on battery power, which we planned for, but never actually did because everyone liked the idea, but no one actually used it. So it was easy enough to get mains power everywhere. But yeah, in terms of the electronics, I don't know how much detail to go into because obviously I will talk about electronics forever. But we sort of made a plan for our, how many LEDs we're going to use, how much power that uses. We ran it past the technical guy at Shine, George. He was really good. Do I mean George? No, I mean Phil. Sorry. And we have a power budget. We had an idea of what we want the animations to do. We knew we wanted it to make sound, so we built all those things in. The devices in the end were actually there was actually one lighting controller, one thing which controlled all the LEDs. All the three sides of this sculpture, they used the same lighting information, so we could just copy that out 3 times if you like. So we didn't need lots of controllers, we just made one. I'll just flick onto this. We had the main lighting controller, which I programmed. I'm lucky enough to be familiar with that. And then we had a sound controller that played back all the samples. So each time we sort of had an animation. I mean, we should have put a video in this, but you can watch videos online. We had an animation with it, light bouncing around each of the shapes. And every time it hits a corner, you hear a sound. So all those sounds were stored in just a little SD card on a device. It's one of the ones in the bottom right corner there. Yeah, but it all worked very well from that side. Like once we got it all up and running and tested, it was pretty reliable at that point. So yeah, we completed that build, and then it was on to sort of taking it out and testing it, because nothing's perfect. We've got to actually see how it's received and then maybe work out changes for it based on the feedback we get from the public and from Shine themselves. So you can see in the top middle here, it fitting very nicely with a lot of room to spare in a van, which is one of the things we planned for throughout. Was just like, how are we going to move this thing? Is it going to be easy? How many bits are we going to have to split it up into? It ended up being like 5 chunky bits. That's well, 4 chunky bits that made up the main structure, and then there's the 5th bit of electronics, which is the bottom left there, that sort of strange black shaped object there. So we then started taking it out onto the outings. Our first outing was Leeds. I think we did an unusual number. We did quite a lot of light festivals in our run. But yeah, the first one was Leeds, and those top 2 pictures are it going out in Leeds and just being sat up in the sun. So we took it out there, we tested it, we got some feedback about, you know, people liked it generally. It was seemed to be well received. Like, people were a bit mesmerized by it, I think, and enough people understood what we were trying to illustrate that we thought we felt we'd achieved that. We'd succeeded there. So we did make some changes for Lightpool. That's the Blackpool Light Festival. Just small changes like more samples and things like varying the speed of the animation, so that you get like a fast drum beat or a slow drum beat, or you get some African drums, or you get like a conventional drum kit, that kind of stuff. So it was a bit more varied, and you could justify standing and looking at it for a bit longer. We took it to BD is Lit, where it was on a high street, and it was well received there. Nightfall in Middlesbrough, which was the sort of like most extreme weather-wise of all the light festivals. It's one thing Shine helped us with, was advice on weatherproofing, or what weather to expect. Then Light Waves in Salford in December, and finally Oldham this year. So it was just a couple of months ago. So the things we learned from those outings were just like, we did have to do some repairs after one of the light nights. Like, there was some water ingress that was a lot more than we expected. But yeah, that was all dealt with a hefty hairdryer and a bit of silicone. So yeah, we sort of repaired it all, got it all working, and took it all back out again. But in general, like all of the runs, all of the visits went smoothly. In each case, there was a bit of a consultation with the festival about where we wanted to go, like a site visit to each place. That was a few months in advance, and where you get to sort of some input about where you would like your piece to be sited and what kind of area would suit it. We found that really helpful. So yeah, okay. So this is, oh sorry, this would be better to have up some images from each of the outings. So just there's some in Salford, some in Middlesbrough here. So yeah, I'll hand over to Richard for this bit.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I don't know if you gathered from context or seen on the Light Up the North thing, but just to explain what it does, it's like the light moves around each shape, and every time it gets to a corner, you get a sample sound. So when the triangle's going, you sort of get 3 beats in a bar, and then there's a 4-sided square, 4-sided shape, and a 6-sided shape, and a 12-sided shape, and then it layers the different rhythms over the top of each other to give you the sort of polyrhythmic beats, and you can see how it sort of builds them and layers them. And this sort of idea of using polygons is how it's often explained in music theory, and that's why we chose that. I couldn't remember if I said that before, but if so, that hopefully now will make sense. What we learned is, I mean, we work in the outdoors, but we were for some reason still amazed at the amount of weather that was thrown. I think it's because light art is more durational and installational rather than pop up and disappear. That there was some good learnings about weather and water ingress, and some well-received warnings from Phil Goff that saved us. So that was all good. And also, we've just sort of learned how to deal with clients and deliver our own shows and do site visits and budget, and sort of how to be a thing. That's been really helpful. And it's off the back of it, there's more things that we're doing now, which is great, but it also gave us time and a space to think about how we could develop our own practice in this, as well as just working for other companies, and that was sort of invaluable for us to just sort of create a path forwards. And off the back of it, we've been contacted by we were contacted in the year by one of the light festivals that we went to, who were part of Light Up the North, and they asked us if we had any more ideas, and we pitched a couple of ideas, and they really liked one of them, and at the moment we're just in conversation, but it looks like that's going to happen this year, so that's really exciting. And if it goes there, there's somewhere else it might go to. I'm being slightly coded because it hasn't been agreed to yet, and so therefore I feel like I shouldn't say it, but that is all happening. We were contacted by Northern Ireland Science Festival, because we're also a lot of the stuff we're interested in is quite sciencey and quite techy. So we like explaining things, and we talked to them about a show about autopsies, which is what that top picture is. We did a sort of a projection show for them. They commissioned it. It was in February this year, and it was a projection show on someone that explains the process of an autopsy by visually opening them and bringing the organs out, talking about what they do. And then there was various sort of tricks in it, like the table is a trapdoor, is a sprung magnetic trapdoor, so the person disappears at one point. So that happened, and then we've just found out last week that we've got another commission in Ireland to build a piece of light art based around an expanding sphere, like those children's toys you have, that tells the life cycle of a star. So it starts small and it goes out, and then it collapses in on itself, and that's for delivery this autumn. So off the back of so we only sort of decided to do this beginning of last year, and then we sort of followed the Shine path through. And then once we were delivering on that, we've then picked up these other things. And there's a couple more other inquiries and things we're following, and we're putting more tenders out. But it definitely has allowed us to, we now feel like we understand I was going to say market, but it's more community. And also just by going around all those festivals, we've met loads of really interesting people who've introduced us to really interesting people. There was a great talk in Blackpool that we became part of that had loads of light festivals at it. Yeah, it's been really good. And so it looks like there's a lot more light art in our future, hopefully. Watch this space. Questions. I'm just reading the thing now. I think that's, unless there's anything else that we haven't covered that you hoped we would.
No, that was brilliant. Thank you all very much for the work that you've put into that. That was a really good insight to your experience on Shine. So yeah, has
Jenny's got a raised hand.
anyone got any questions? Yeah, if you'd like to raise your hand or write it in the chat.
Jenny.
We'll go to Jenny first. She's got her hand up.
Hi. Oh, thanks. That was really interesting. I
Chris,
want
if you could just stop sharing as well, sharing your screen.
Oh,
we can
that's
all see each
Chris.
other again.
There we go.
There we go.
and thanks. That was great. And I wanted to ask about the 5-page Canva doc that you put together. What kind of things did you include in that?
Ooh. Well, it will be in all the things that they asked for. So like there was some visualizations in there. George did some drawings. There would have been a preliminary budget, a explanation of the concept, that sort of thing. I mean, if it still exists somewhere, I don't think we would object to it being shared. I'm just putting George and Chris on the spot here, but I don't think there's anything in there that we've already built.
Just having a look to see if I can find it.
Yeah. But yeah, so like it would have been some visualizations, some text that told the story, some text that explained why we thought we could do it, but what we might want help with, and then how we would spend the money if we received it. I imagine it would have been what they asked for in the application form.
Can I just come in here a moment just to make two points. One is that Axolotl as a collective have got some really brilliant technical skills within the team. So you'll have seen the visualizations there that were incredible. But I just want you guys to know that when we had that first induction day, where we met Axolotl and the second Shine commission in 2023, Axolotl came with the amazing visualizations, and the second artist literally came with a piece of paper that he'd just drawn the idea onto. So please don't think that you need to be able to produce the visualizations the same way as Axolotl did. Axolotl's visualizations, as I said, were brilliant. But equally, if you have a picture on a bit of paper and that's how you want to present your work, then that is also brilliant. Like, don't think that you need to be able to produce visualizations. And the second thing that I'm going to say is we want to make this process really straightforward for people, because we want people to apply for Shine. Best case scenario for us is that we get lots of applications and that lots of people share their ideas with us, and that we commission two really good artists. So we will try and make this as simple as process for you as possible, so that, you know, the form isn't onerous. But I think please don't come into the Shine process with the mindset that like it's a one-way traffic, like we are doing something good for you. Please remember that the Shine artist brings something amazing to light up the north as well. So please don't forget about that balance of power and think that all the power sits within Light Up the North, because we really love working with the Shine artists as well, and we really welcome your applications, and we love receiving your applications, and we love working with emerging Shine artists, emerging light artists.
And I mean, what I would add to that is, if you'd been at the lunchtime session when we were talking about it, the artist there, Anne Bennett, who had a piece 2 years ago now, she handmade butterflies. So it's very different from the axolotl piece. And every Shine project over the years has been very different. And as it should be, because you're all different artists, aren't you? You all come from different backgrounds. You're all inspired by different things. And that should be reflected in your application as well. The idea is the thing, the concept is the thing. I mean, with Axolotl last year, it was the idea that sold it. It was aware that they had some proven skills to pull it off, but actually it was the idea that impressed all the different light festivals involved in the program last year. As again, I'm sure that's not a surprise to you, because as artists, you all know the great bit is the ideas that you have. That's what makes you different than people who work in different spheres than the arts.
I could back up as well what Kate said. We found the process of applying really straightforward and easy to understand, and it's a simple, logical, it's an easy process to follow. It's not arduous, or whatever word you said. And since we've started applying to other stuff, I think we've then realized how easy this one was to apply to, and how comfortable it was, because some of the other stuff asks questions and you're like, I don't know how many. I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Yes, but basically, it's true. It's a very straightforward process. We would recommend it.
Thank you. Helen, you've got a question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that. That was brilliant. I've got a question, because we've got a concept and we've got an idea of what we want to create, and we've kind of done quite a few drawings, but we haven't had the opportunity yet to actually get some equipment together and start kind of plugging bits in and seeing what works. And so I guess it's a question for both the Light Up the North team and also you, Axolotl, in terms of, did you try any things out with like a proof of concept, kind of a small maquette as a piece? Would that have been helpful if you didn't? And I guess for the Light Up the North team, is that something that you'd be kind of looking for at this point? Because I know that in past experiences of applying for festivals, they've kind of looked for that type of thing. And so I'm just trying to get a gauge on whether that should be something that we try and do before applying or not.
So I should say we did in terms of just making models of what we made. So George did make some plans of what we wanted to do in SketchUp. We tried some different. I wrote some programs so we could sort of visualize what the lights would do, and we could try out different numbers of sides on each shape. You know, we could try like the 5, 7, 8 polyrhythm and see what that sounded like. It was rubbish. But we did try a few things before we decided to commit everything to solid metal, because it would seem like too big a risk to take otherwise.
But we didn't do that. We didn't physically build anything. You know, that was all sort of virtual experiments, and that process carried on past the point of getting the commission. So we started that before we applied, and there was no emphasis from Shine or Light Up the North that we needed to have done that. It was just the fact that we'd started, and it was very easy to carry on because we didn't need any equipment. We didn't actually sort of pick the LEDs or try any of the, like, we ended up using this profile. We didn't decide on any of that until after we were going ahead with it, and we'd already sort of, I think, developing the idea, you get lots of support. So if you go for, if you'd completely decided on everything before you got to them, you'd be missing out on things they could help you with.
And I think from our point of view, it would almost be as simple as building your budget from the starting point that you're actually at. So if you feel like you've got a lot of R&D to do once you've been successful in the Shine program, then build that into your budget. And if you feel like you do need to spend time building prototypes and you're going to do that after you've won the commission, then again, build that into your budget and then see what that looks like in terms of, like, you know, the financial support that we can give you.
Yeah, I think the point is to remember that Shine is a process. And if you get shortlisted at that first discussion meeting, those sort of questions will emerge, and hopefully people on the panel will be able to ask you pertinent questions and come up with some solutions as well that you know, that will be useful to you. But it is a process. It's a step-by-step process. So I wouldn't worry too much. You know, it's exploring the idea. And the other interesting, we've not mentioned it yet, but it does say on the application form that if you have a big idea for something of scale, but it may not be achievable this year because you may need to spend more time doing R&D, the Light Up the North network is always interested to hear what your ideas are, because there'll be a light festival in 2025 and 2026. So if you need more exploratory time, don't think, well, that's my lot. I'm not managed with, you know, through Shine. We like talking about ideas, particularly because we're all interested in new commissions and new ideas. You know, we have to buy in some work that's already existing, but all of the festivals are always looking at new projects coming from different sources.
Brilliant, thank you.
Has anyone else got any questions? Yep, Jenny?
To ask who will be on the panel for Shine.
So for the shortlisting, it will be members from all 6 of the light festivals that are participating in Shine this year. Yeah. And we haven't got as far as the interview panel yet, but it will be members of the producing teams of those light festivals.
Oh, great, thanks.
Can I ask one?
Yeah, go ahead, Emma.
Hiya. Sorry, I couldn't work out how to put my hand up on this thing. I wondered about logistics, and sorry if you've already explained this in the application process, but for each night where the installation or sculpture is on site somewhere, is there what's the responsibility around sort of security and that sort of thing? Is it that the artist stays with it, or an operator, or security?
So all the light festivals have security teams.
Okay.
So it will be guarded throughout the night for as long as it's there, from when you build it to when it's broken down. Yeah.
Yeah, every festival operates in that way. All I would say is, obviously, you know, I think sometimes staying at a festival, if it's only 2 nights, particularly ones that are only 2 nights, can be a good experience for the artist involved, because you can tune in to what the audience are experiencing. You can listen to their comments and their reactions, and you can learn a lot about that because obviously we're all here talking as artists and producers, but light festivals are really all about audiences, and huge audiences. And you're missing a trick if you're not listening to what some of those reactions are, because that could well inform the way you create the next piece of work. As the guys from Axolotl said, they were really quite moved by some of the comments they were listening to from people seeing their work. And it's quite invaluable, that really, and the only thing I would add from what they were saying is, obviously they commented on the weather. You do need to make pieces that are robust and that, never mind security, that can withstand weather for 3, 4, 5 nights outdoors. It really is the key component of any work that you create, unless you decide that it is going to be an indoor piece. But there's not as much availability in terms of locations and spaces at some of our festivals for putting things indoors. So I would focus on making something that can be moved around from location to location and withstand everything that the weather can throw at it. Can't really emphasize that enough. That's far more important. It's much more likely the weather will damage it than somebody in the audience will.
Yes, that leads us on to one of our questions. But very quickly, Lois has just asked, will the recording be available? Yes, I can share it with you all. And Axolotl, if you're happy for us to share your presentation, I'd like to share both presentations with the lunchtime group and the evening group. Yeah, thank you. Lucy says she would like to ask about the material choice, because you said you learned about the weather conditions. Could you talk a little bit more about your choice of material? And also a technical question, where was the lighting controller placed within the sculpture?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were quite lucky in one respect, because we made an aesthetic decision that turned out to be a very good decision, but we decided to make the main shapes and panels of the structure in aluminium. George welded them aluminium channel together, which doesn't rust. That's why I said that's very fortuitous, because the base plates that we made out of steel, and we gave it a coat of paint to take it outside. But by the end of the run, the rust had started to get into our base, even though we'd protected it, just because of all the dragging it around wet, cold fields for weeks. But luckily the structure itself was made out of aluminium, which won't rust. So that was one of the good things we made. We decided to, because you can sort of even try and stop the water getting in, or make it so if the water gets in, it doesn't matter. So we sort of decided to let the water run through it a bit, but I think there was more water than we were expecting, and we should have actually taken sort of a half and half approach, where we try and stop it as much as possible. But still, you've got to let it out. If you have something that's entirely sealed, if a little bit of water gets in, it will never get out, and then it's stuck in there and it will just eat at everything. So we sort of adapted halfway through to allow water to get out the bottom, but to try and prevent it getting in the top, as sort of like a 2-stage thing, and to use lots and lots of silicone sealant. Even if a little jointing thing says that it's waterproof, to join the cables to the LEDs and that sort of thing, even if it claims to be, get some silicone sealant and just make sure that you don't just have to trust it, sort of thing. Like just waterproof everywhere it can get in, it will. When it was in Middlesbrough, it froze every night and then thawed every day, and then froze at night and thawed every day, and that was where it started to dislike being out. And that's like 10 days. Was it 10? It was a long period of time anyway. It was out every day. Yeah, and then the technical question, where was the lighting controller? So if you looked on the structure, it was a 3-sided structure, and in the middle was that we call it the witch's hat. That's what Chris kind of stumbled upon earlier, because he was trying to not say that, because he probably wanted to look professional. But it's like a pointy pyramid on a flat base. So screwed to the underside of that is the lighting controller in a little component enclosure, and the what they call transformers to drop the power down. So we chose to, so that's made of wood, so we screwed our transformers to the wood, and then they took their power from, so that the site would give power to them, and then everything after that was 12 volts. So there was no mains or anything in our structure except on one, and they were waterproof transformers underneath a piece of wood that was sealed on the top. So that way, that's how we were confident that we weren't going to make the structure live. But yes, material choices, metal, and try and protect it, and silicone, and make sure that all the electronics are rated to being outside, or are definitely protected in a way that makes you comfortable. would you two want to add anything else? Or
No, I think that covers it.
cool. I might be the gobby one of the three, just put it out there.
Thank you. Just to add a note about sustainability as well, they showed you a picture of it all fitting into one van. So you've got a smaller carbon footprint to transport it from place to place. And also your material choices as well, if they can be sustainable.
Yeah. Which will also save you money on haulage.
Yeah. We've had a message from Alicia. Alicia, thank you for your message. I need to defer to the Light Up the North network. We've had a similar message via email as well. I need to do a bit more research and then I will get back to you via email if that's okay. Great. Okay, Tom says, would we consider walk around performances? The answer is yes, we would. Just bear in mind that the main focus of this is that it's a light artwork. We're looking for a brilliant, captivating, inspiring idea for a piece of light art. In our lunchtime session, we had a discussion about light festivals being festivals of art, not Christmas decorations, fairy lights, lighting structures, lighting features in a park. It is about producing an actual piece of artwork. But yeah, if that's a walk around, then that sounds great.
Well, the only thing I would say, add to that though, is to bear in mind some festivals, and certainly it's the case with Lancaster, is that we're very keen that everything runs for 5 hours each evening from 5 till 10, which with any performance element is clearly asking a hell of a lot. And therefore we've had a good few discussions with roaming performance pieces, that in the chill of winter for 5 hours is a huge ask. But, we have made exceptions where we've timed the performances. It's just it's more to do with the marketing exercise as far as we're concerned, is that audiences get confused when they think, when they see that everything's on between 5 and 10 o'clock at night, they expect to see it between 5 and 10 o'clock at night. And when it only appears at certain times, they go, have I missed it? Where is it? And it agitates audiences. So we have to find nifty ways around that. But I think, as Sarah and Kate said, the main thing is that it's a light art piece, that it's not just a walkabout piece with LED strips around people. Light is the central, absolutely pivotal element of the artwork.
Thank you, George. We've had a budget question from Samuel. How formed do the budgets need to be for the application, particularly if you're at concept stage and proposing something you've not necessarily worked on before? Kate.
I think, as with any project, you just cost it up as best you can. Find the cost for the materials, think about how long it's going to take you to do the R&D, think about any third-party subcontractor costs you might have, but also crucially, make sure that you pay yourself within the budget. So we want to see artist fees within the budget. We don't want to see you spending all your money on materials and transport and all that kind of stuff. So I think part of the process of having something that's at the point of being able to be commissioned, part of that is understanding that you can do it roughly within the amount of money that we can give you. And there are things that you can do to get costs. And it doesn't have to be down to the exact penny, but you can go and get costs for your materials and storage and so on. But also we would recommend that you put a contingency in as well. So I guess the amount of money that you decide to allocate to your contingency should be reflective of how confident or not you are with your costs.
Leading on from that, if you recommend staying overnight at festivals, should you include accommodation costs in your budget and also transport to and from festivals?
I have a feeling we cover that, but I need to go back and check.
Yeah,
I think
we do cover accommodation.
And
accommodation is part of the deal that each light festival you know, covers your accommodation costs, but not your transport to and from the festival. So you do need to, you know, put that in if you're going to be at 4 festivals. Luckily, they're all in the north, so nobody's going to expect you to drive down to Southend unless you're already in Southend. I don't know where you're from, but it's you know, it is, you do need to work out the transport costs for yourself, but don't worry about the accommodation when you're at the festivals themselves. They'll find you somewhere, you know, comfortable, cozy, and not at your cost.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Axolotl there had a van to move their artwork around, but Anne, who spoke at lunchtime, took her artwork to Romania in a suitcase. So there are different strokes for different folks, as it were, when it comes to transport, and that's really or how easy things are to transport. So that's kind of in your power.
And we can also offer support at each festival with crew to help with the build and break, and with reasonable use of like a scissor lift or a telehandler. As long as you're not wanting to use it for a large portion of the day, there are things that are on site that you can use for an hour or so if you need them. Yeah,
so we typically have kind of shared resource within the production team of each festival. And things like plant and crew would be included in that. But we'll caveat that by saying you do need to let the festivals know in advance, so that they can schedule the use of that crew or the allocation of that crew power or the allocation of that telly time or cherry picker time or whatever within the schedule. But yeah, I know that, you know, that your access to the shared resource as a Shine artist will be equivalent to everyone else's access to the shared resource.
Alicia's just said she'd love to see the recording of this afternoon. Unfortunately, it didn't save. I messed up this afternoon, but I will be able to share Anne's presentation with you all, so you can see that. And she talked through the positives of being a Shine artist and the challenges, and explained her artwork and what she's gone on to do since as well. I'm aware it's 7:27. Have we got any more questions from anyone? No, that's great. Okay, well, thank you all so much for giving up your Wednesday evening. Don't know what it's like where you are. It's finally brightened up in Salford after a lot of rain today.
Yeah.
Drive for our cycle home.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was lovely to meet all of you. Axolotl, thank you so much for the work that you put into that presentation. That was fab.
Thank you for having us.
George, thank you for coming along as well. And we look forward to hearing from all of you soon. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Is George going to stay on? Hi, George.
Oh, hi there. Yeah, well, I think both sessions went very well.